So we stopped last week. Where were we last week? In this whole chart, where were we last week? So we were saying that, yes, I remember, even if you don't remember, Raganuga Bhakti has to be practiced both externally and internally. We discussed this. So Raganuga Bhakti is what? Raganuga Bhakti is the process by which one tries to develop Ragatmika Bhava. And who is qualified for Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti? One who has crossed the stage of Anartha Nivritti. Okay, of course, Prabhupada writes that Anartha still exists to the state of Bhava. Even in Bhava Bhakti there are traces of Anartha. But for all practical purposes, Anartha Nivritti is gone. One is firmly established in the Nishtha platform. Ruchi has started now manifesting. So that is the onset of Raganuga Sadhana. That's where that desire to spontaneously worship will come. Unless there is taste that will manifest, then there will be no desire that will spontaneously come. For example, unless we are convinced of the taste of mango, because we are convinced of the taste of mango, we spontaneously do not refuse if someone offers us a sweet mango to eat. Right? At least I do not. Because there is a taste. So when taste is there will be spontaneity. Without taste, it will be more like a diet as prescribed by the physician. One has to take it whether one likes or not. My wife gives me that. Kadu kadiyatu in Gujarati we say. It's the most horrible thing you can ever drink. Okay. So I have to drink it twice a week. Kadu kadiyatu. Okay. It's the most horrible thing you can ever put inside your tongue.
Share the love, bring it over here.
It is for diabetes, to prevent diabetes. It's made of something, I don't know what it is made of, but it makes my head spin. But I have to still take it, because it is a regulative process. One will not take Kadu Kadiyatu spontaneously. Unless one is told that if you don't take it, you will die in 70, then you will take spontaneously. Right? So it's almost, Bhakti is also done out of fear and regulation. And then Bhakti is done spontaneously because of taste. Right? So this Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti is practiced both externally as well as internally. So Srila Prabhupada writes, please keep the children a little bit quiet now. And also the...
The sound is from outside.
Okay. So बाहर जाके जरा तगड़ा मैसेज दे गया ना.
उनके बाबा मेरे को मंदिर से बाहर निकाल.
ठीक है, बोर एरो लेके जा. Okay. So externally, Raganuga sadhana is practiced both externally as well as internally. Are you with me or are you somewhere else? Somehow I am having this feeling that nobody is concentrating. I don't know why I am getting that feeling. I have the sixth sense which tells me that everyone is somewhere else today. I don't know क्यों ऐसा मुझे feeling आता है. All right. Okay. So externally, how should one follow the footsteps of Rupa Goswami? So today we'll just spend some time discussing this externally and internally in little bit of detail. So externally, Srila Prabhupada writes, one who desires to achieve the service and mood of Srila Rupa Goswami should follow in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami's sadhana. So by observing the Goswamis, what can you observe about the Goswamis? The externals or the internals? What can we observe? Only a Mahan can understand another Mahan. So only a pure devotee can understand the heart of another pure devotee. For us, we can only understand the externals. Okay. So from there, because Raganuga sadhana is about choosing a particular devotee and following that particular devotee, internally as well as externally, we are discussing how to do it externally. So how to do it externally? So Prabhupada is mentioning that observe a devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee as long as material body is there. Activities in devotional service under regulative principles must be followed even by a pure devotee. Okay? We discussed it last class also. So the externals must be followed. So example is given of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan in Sat Goswami Ashtakam. I thought we discussed this also, right? So how they were gentle with both the rogues and ruffians as well. They were completely non-envious. They were expert in the Shastras. They were simple in their lifestyle. So these are the things that we have to imbibe externally. If we want to, in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, we choose the devotee and we follow the externals of the devotee. Okay. So what are the things we discussed? We should follow externally. Gentle towards everyone. Okay. Non-envious. Expert in scriptures. Simplicity of lifestyle and dependence on Krishna. Because they were traveling virtually like mendicants. Living only on Madhukari. Of course, we don't have to go for Madhukari, but at least we can simplify our life. And worshipping Radha and Krishna. So these are the activities which. Okay. And then the other processes that they were following, which is chanting. The sadhana practices, external practices. What are those? Chanting the holy names, bowing down. In fact, if you read the translation of Sat Goswami Ashtakam, it is said that they used to bow down in scheduled measurement. We recently, during, what was the month which went? Purushottam month. We used to read that. They used to bow down in scheduled measurement. Mentioned it. So bowing down, being regulated in sleeping and eating. These are the external practices. Always being meek and humble. Living on the banks of the Radha Kund or the Yamuna. That is where they were found. Of course, if we can't do that, at least we can mentally be in Radha Kund and Yamuna. So these are the practices to be followed externally in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Is everyone clear? So externally, this is the way in which Raganuga Sadhana is to be practiced. Take the Acharya, look at the external practices and imbibe in our life. That is one. Next is internally, which is called as Siddha Rupena. Externally was called as what? Sadhana Rupa. Sadhaka Rupena. Because externally the Acharyas were Sadhakas, but internally they were Siddhas. So Sadhaka Rupena and Siddha Rupena. So internally what to do? So here we are advised that we must follow mentally. We must follow the behavior of their Siddha form. We must follow the behavior of their Siddha form. For example, someone wants to meditate on Rupa Goswami, can internally meditate on the activities of Sri Rupa Manjari. Where is this described? It is described by Raghunath Das Goswami in Vraja Vilasa Stava. For external, which one did we mention? Sat Goswami Ashtakam. For internal, Vraja Vilasa Stava by Raghunath Das Goswami. Okay. So internally, that is the way in which we have to practice. So in Vraja Vilasa Stava, it is mentioned. I had a chance to read that. So it is mentioned how Rupa Goswami is serving. It is mentioned that Rupa Goswami is the leader of the Manjaris. Rupa Manjari. Rupa Goswami is the Sadhaka Rupena. Rupa Manjari is the Siddha Rupena. So Rupa Manjari is the leader of all the other Manjaris, serving Radha and Krishna. They are offering betel nuts to Radha and Krishna. They are sitting on the jhula and betel nuts are being offered to the Lord. Okay. They are massaging Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. They are arranging meetings, secret meetings between Radha and Krishna. All these activities are done by the various Gopi maid servants. And who is the head of all the Gopi maid servants? Rupa Manjari. Right. And then towards the end, Raghunath Das Goswami is writing, this Rupa Manjari, this Rupa Goswami, his lotus feet are the only goal of my life. So even Raghunath Das Goswami is meditating on Rupa Manjari. Just imagine. So that is his Raganuga sadhana, internal. He is also meditating on that mode. And we are also Rupanugas. So we can choose any of these devotees. We could even choose Raghunath Das Goswami. And then we could follow his practices. So that covers the external and internal part. One summary on the internal practice. Srila Prabhupada summarizes, but when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, when the sadhaka realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of regulative service, think within himself of the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord and develop his transcendental sentiments in following that associate. So that is external and internal, which we have covered. The next, and we spent some time on it, maybe 10-15 minutes we will spend on that, okay, is what is the Siddha Pranali. This is very, very important to understand. Pardon? It is an essay topic also, okay, for all of you. And as Gaudiya Vaishnavas in ISKCON, we must understand the Siddha Pranali thing. So Prabhupada writes here, Siddha Pranali, a fallacious interpretation. A fallacious interpretation. Okay. So it is not that Siddha Pranali itself is a bogus word. But what has happened is, today Siddha Pranali has been misconstrued. And that is why misconstrued Siddha Pranali has become synonymous with Siddha Pranali. To the extent that Siddha Pranali, when you say, it is written that it's a fallacious interpretation, because it's fallacious only today. The pristine Siddha Pranali may not be existing. So we have been cautioned by Srila Prabhupada. And secondly, the Siddha Pranali is not required at all. For progressing in Bhakti, it is not required. So let us understand a little bit of whatever is given here. We don't have to do PhD in Siddha Pranali here, but some details. Srila Prabhupada wants us to be careful of the so-called Siddha Pranali process. So it is not that Siddha Pranali is wrong. What is wrong? So-called Siddha Pranali. That is what we are talking about. This process is based on an interpretation of the current shloka of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that is deviant in two ways. The first deviation is to prematurely imagine one's eternally perfect spiritual form. What is the first fallacy in Siddha Pranali? To prematurely imagine what? Our spiritual form. Okay. Prematurely imagine one's Siddha Rupa. These deviants imagine that they have become associates of the Lord. What do? They imagine. They imagine that they have become associates of the Lord. Okay. Simply by thinking of themselves like that. Okay.
What is the joke?
How do you know that?
From your face we can...
You can know that.
What is it?
He knows, he is reading me very well. That Mahmood had said, Khayalon mein, he used to say. Like that. So I just remember that. Khayalon mein, we are imagining that we are so and so Manjari. Suddenly I remembered that. I didn't want to say that, but let me say it. Okay. So this is like Khayali Pulao, we say in Hindi. We are imagining that I am already this Manjari. Like that. So this is one fallacy. According to our Acharyas, realization of our Siddha Rupa develops gradually. You don't have to imagine. It will develop gradually when our hearts become purified. So our Siddha Rupa will only start developing, manifesting when our hearts become purified. But the Siddha Pranali process, what does it say? The so-called Siddha Pranali process, it does not wait for the heart to become purified, but rather it tells you, you start imagining yourself as Rupa Manjari and you will become like him. This is a bogus process. The second deviation, this is the first deviation. The second deviation is 1 minute. Yeah, okay.
Can you repeat? Sorry, no question. In the first deviation, you start imagining as if you are the.
Correct. You start imagining your Siddha Rupa and you think that you are in your Siddha Rupa and start doing your sadhana. Okay? Of dressing up in a sari. I'm not joking, it's seriously. People do that. Walking like a peacock. You can imagine doing all those things. So this is called as, this is bogus. This is trying to prematurely imitate even when the heart is not yet pure. Like that.
Was it same as Sahajias or different?
Yes. This is Sahajias. The second deviation is their proposal that the word Vrajalok, residents of Vrindavan, children have to manage. Little bit of silence. Otherwise we can't concentrate. So the second deviation is their proposal that the word Vrajalok, refers exclusively to the residents of Vrindavan in Krishna Leela. The second fallacy is that the word Vrajalok refers exclusively to the residents of Vrindavan in Krishna Leela, such as Rupa Manjari, and not to the residents of Vrindavan in Gaura Leela, which is what? Rupa Manjari. So it's only recognizing Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, it's not recognizing Rupa Goswami. So it's not recognizing the residents of Vrindavan in Gaura Leela. So that is the second problem with this so-called. Prabhupada says, thus they wrongly interpret the whole process to mean that we should imitate the gopis' activities both as our external sadhana as well as our internal meditation. Internally also meditate, but externally also start dressing like a manjari and then walk around. Correct? One can see such men dressed in sari, jewellery, etc. Okay? Not worshipping Guru or Tulsi, yet making a show of imitating the behavior of the gopis, even though they are not yet purified of basic material desires. Okay? So some years back I used to see this, one song is there. I don't know whether you have heard this bhajan. Nikunja me biraje ghan Sham Radhe Radhe. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Sham Radhe Radhe ghan Sham Radhe Radhe. Like that it goes, okay? So this was shown on television and this girl is coming. ऐसा टीवी में she's crying and crying and crying and crying. अभी पिक्चर में क्या दिखाने का जरूरत है ऐसा इमोशन टीवी में, right? And she's crying and crying. मतलब almost it's almost like there's a lot of what is that they put glycerin down there. It's crying and then ऐसा झूम रही है वो. And then everyone is and when you see that people are saying अरे क्या भक्ति है, from outside. But actually we know it is stage managed. That's all. It is stage managed. So similarly, many professional Bhagavatas, this was also, I have already attended that also, those sessions also. Okay. So, these professional Bhagavatas, they will never discuss any other canto, they will directly come to the 10th canto. Lali के बारे में बात करते हैं, something like that. Directly it will start with Radharani. Okay. And then, Thakur ji and Lali, how, what happened, something like that. And then they will have all these musicians who will say, पीछे से ऐसा बजाएंगे, in some emotional scene. Like that. So, there is a lot of special effects which is there, which looks and which is an imitation of the real. In actual practice, nothing is like that happening. But it is just to evoke an artificial environment, which is a reflection of the real. For example, now why this is happening is because in India, all of us are cooked in Bollywood. Okay. So So you just imagine, sometimes I just think like that, So many beautiful, great songs we know in Hindi movies, What is happening? There is a field which is there, the hero is running, the heroine is running, and then there is a music which is happening, like that. In real life, जब heroine कोई दो लोग मिलते हैं तो बैंड बजा लेके कोई जाता ही नहीं. Actually nothing is like that. It's an absolutely imaginary situation. But it is put on television along with music and you think, हाँ बराबर ऐसा हो रहा है. Music वगैरह है and पीछे से ताथैया people are all putting that spray कर रहे हैं आगे. And Jitendra is dancing in front, like that. ऐसा कौन आता है पीछे? कोई नहीं आता है. आजकल बैठे तो पुलिस आते हैं पीछे से. चल Actually it is like that, correct? So reality is different and this khayali pulao which is cooked in this Bollywood movies is completely different. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है real life में. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, right? Even emotions, if you see in the movies, again that music contributes to your emotions more than the real scene. Or even when the Bhayanak movie is happening, the key is put inside. Like that 70 mm में आता है अंदर और दरवाजा खुला क्या हो रहा है कुछ नहीं रहता अंदर like that boom that thing. So everything, actually nothing is happening, your door is opening, but then you are given that music, the sound effects create that environment taking you into that journey, but actually it's all illusory because nothing is there, it's not reality. So this is almost like that. The professional Bhagavatas also create that kind of an environment. उसमें क्या होता है बाहर आके सब लोग बोलते हैं बड़ा आनंद आया स्वामी जी, मन को बहुत अच्छा लगा. They will tell like that. बाहर आके एक भी आदमी ज्वाइन नहीं करेगा उसके बाद. एक भी आदमी, they go and watch television after that at home. So there is lot of spiritual entertainment, but there is no transformation of the heart. And this is Prabhupada's Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's Maharajas and Prabhupada's greatest contribution. They stopped this nonsense. Right? Without music, Harinam should ring in our hearts. Just by the purity of our hearts. We don't need that music and all those things. Those emotions will come even in any place in this world. Right? You are in Siberia, still those emotions will come. Because Bhakti andar ki baat hai. It's internal. Right? So that is where Prabhupada hits the point. And even in Bhava Bhakti section which I was reading today, there is so much beautiful point Prabhupada is hammering. That Bhakti is completely internal. There is no need to make a show of it. Real Bhakti will really give you that bliss and anand without all these externals. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to put on any pretense or show. That ananda will be there. Like that. And Vrindavan also unfortunately is full of these people who are called as Sahajiyas. You will find people actually dressed up like this and they'll call themselves as Sakhis. Yeah.
Yes, in Bhakti Purushottam Swami Prabhupada, one of his lectures, he was mentioning that all the Sahaja, they are wearing sari and dressing up like a woman. And Prabhupada told them that Krishna is a cheer-chur, means one day he will come and steal your clothes, then you will be exposed.
Okay. So Prabhupada writes another interesting point here. Okay, please listen carefully. Raganuga sadhana does not entail rejection of Vaidhi. Raganuga sadhana does not entail rejection of Vaidhi. But actually requires a more focused concentration upon particular aspects of Vaidhi which are conducive to an individual's particular service mood. Okay? Hold on. I know it's getting too much for you. From your face I could guess. You're struggling. So I'll give you an example. Okay? The Raganuga Bhakta does not abandon regular hearing and chanting. Does not abandon. So hearing, chanting, sab kuch chalta rahega. Does not abandon regular hearing and chanting. Rather, such a devotee focuses hearing and chanting upon topics that specifically nourish his particular serving mood. Did everyone hear me? Want me to repeat? Rather, such a devotee focuses hearing and chanting upon topics that specifically nourish his particular serving mood. So that mood is important. The mood in which we are hearing, the mood in which we are chanting, our mood must be nourished. The word for nourishing is what? Pushti. Chushti, pushti, pradhan karti hai. We say nourishment, like that. That is why in Gujarati, that last time I said, no, it's called as pushti marg. The one which nourishes that mood of spontaneous love towards God, which Vallabhacharya started actually. He gave the name as pushti marg, like that. So pushti means nourishment. Deity worship is another example. So we heard about hearing and chanting. Deity worship. The Raganuga devotee does not reject the aspect of deity worship, of Vaidhi sadhana. He may continue to worship the deity, but in a way conducive to his devotional mood. So when you are worshipping the deity, then internally one can worship it or address the deities in a way that Rupa Goswami would do it. After hearing how Rupa Goswami would worship the deities, one can imbibe that mood and then worship the deity. That is not a problem. Right? One should not think that I am Rupa Goswami. And Prabhupada writes that actually. He writes that also here. Learned Acharyas recommend that we follow the regulative principles even after the development of spontaneous love for Krishna. So even after spontaneous love comes, even then we must follow the regulative principles. One should specifically engage himself in the type of devotional service for which he has a natural aptitude. That is very important. Natural aptitude bhi hona chahiye. That is why I couldn't relate to that, wearing a sari and beetle and leke jao. I don't have a natural aptitude for doing that. How can you artificially tell me? Because I am still thinking, I am still in Purusha Bhav. I am still thinking I am male. First, Upadhi has to go. Sarva Upadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. That Upadhi has to go, that I am a male, I am a female, I am an Indian. Right? All those Upadhis have to go. And the original nature of the Bhav of the soul has to manifest. Only then it is possible to be like that. Otherwise, it will not come with an artificial imposition on the mind that from tomorrow you will be a Manjari. Or somebody telling you that you are this Manjari. Of course, I didn't ask him. I said, Baba ji ko kaisa malum which Manjari I am? Unhone manjari dekha na suna. Right? Then they said that no, he also antaryami hai and he knows everything. I don't know. Right? How it works. He has got a list and all this. Of everyone. It was like little bit far out. So, now there are, to end the topic on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, there are two types of Raganuga Bhakti. The children have to be kept a little bit quiet. You can manage them. I am not able to concentrate. Sorry, it's my limitation. But I am still not able to concentrate. So, there are two types of Raganuga Bhakti. One is called as Kamanuga and the other is called as Sambandha Anuga. Now, I am not going to spend much time on it because you already heard this. This is nothing but Ragatmika. Ragatmika is the goal and Raganuga is the process. Right? So, Kamanuga responds to that same Kamanuga of the previous. Which one? Gopyat Kama Dayat. That Kama. That is Kamanuga, conjugal love. Now here, of course, Prabhupada elaborates a little bit. There are two divisions of Kamanuga. In this Kamanuga, there are two divisions. Okay. One is called as Sambhoga Ichhamayi. Sambhog Ichhamayi. You don't need to remember all these esoteric terms, but you need to understand the English. That is important from your exam point of view. Okay. There are two divisions of Kamanuga. He is writing immediately. The moment I say the word exam, he will write. There are two divisions of Kamanuga. The first one is Sambhoga Ichhamayi, which means striving to serve Krishna as do those who directly meet him in conjugal love. And second one is Tat Bhava Ichhatmika. Again, not required to remember this. Striving not to meet with Krishna directly, but to assist the supreme heroine, Srimati Radharani, and thus directly experience her loving mood through service and appreciation. One is what? Directly Sambhog, Bhagwan ke saath. Right? That is why it's called as Sambhoga Ichchamayi. Direct, I want to be with the Lord. I want to go and hug the Lord directly. Right? Direct Sambhoga I want. The other one is Tat Bhava Ichchatmika. So you have that bhav in your heart, but that bhav, how is it manifesting? It is manifesting through serving and appreciation. So you are facilitating the milan of Radha and Krishna. Both are bona fide. Okay? Because both are types of Kamanuga. Right? Now what is the eligibility for Kamanuga? One gradually becomes eligible for Kamanuga sadhana bhakti by developing a natural attraction to serving Krishna in conjugal love. There has to be a natural attraction to serving Krishna in conjugal love. For example, if you are attached to Bal Gopal worship, then conjugal love is not for you. Right? And if you are naturally only attracted to that, then this will not. But right now we cannot say that मुझे बाल गोपाल बहुत अच्छा लगता है, therefore मेरा वात्सल्य. Right now material desires are not gone. So rasa is never manifesting anyway. Right? It may be just one, some sentiment will be there. मेरे बच्चे को मैं देखती हूँ लाला में, some people will say like that. It's all sentiment stuff. Right? Okay. But seeing Krishna as a son is not a mundane sentiment. It's a very high rasa. One has to be completely free of material desires and be fixed in Nishtha platform. Only then one can start manifesting all that. Then yes, there is some credence we can give to this view. So one has to develop a natural attraction to serving Krishna in conjugal love. Now how does one achieve that natural attraction? Do you want to know it? One achieves this mainly by worshipping deities of Radha and Krishna and hearing Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. This is very important. If one wants to cultivate this mode, there is no other way but to perform deity worship of Radha and Krishna, not Lakshmi Narayan. Radha and Krishna, deity worship, and hearing Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. Okay. One has to hear Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. We cannot continue hearing. We must hear at this stage. We must hear all other lectures. Okay. But we cannot only hear about how the Mahatattva turned to Pradhan, how Mahavishnu breathed out. All that is required, but that will not lead to development of. It will, because it will purify the heart. It will give you the essentials. It will be a necessary condition, but that will not be sufficient. Now we have to start hearing the rasa pastimes of the Lord through the lips of a pure devotee, and this is where we have to be very careful not to go to professional Bhagavatas. We have to hear from the lips of a pure devotee who is completely nirmat sarana, completely non-envious and completely free from sex desire. This is required. Otherwise we cannot appreciate this pastime. So only from such a devotee can this be heard. This development of conjugal love can be possible only with those who are already engaged in following the regulative principles of devotional service. Specifically in worship of Radha and Krishna in the temple, such devotees gradually develop a spontaneous love for the deity, and by hearing of the Lord's exchange of loving affairs with the gopis, they gradually become attracted to these pastimes. So therefore, for us, what does it mean? For us, it simply means that we must be in a hurry to get. We must be in a, not a hurry, I would say. We must be enthusiastic to get second initiated. If we are not, we must have that desire in our heart. Not for the sake of saying that अभी मैं ब्राह्मण हो गया हूँ, देखो मेरा चद्दर कैसा है, ऐसा स्टाइल में घूमने का. Not that, right? It means I want to get the opportunity to dress Radha and Krishna. Janeshwar Prabhu, you will agree, right? First time altar में गया तो it was out of this world, going into the altar. Of course, later on we start getting used to it, and that's another danger. Over familiarity with the altar. That's another danger. But first time I didn't realize, Bapare, I'm under again, someone took me inside. And then I was imagining, people from outside, ye kidhar gaya andar? Kal tak to bahar tha. So I was thinking all those things, So first time when you go, it's completely bewildering. You don't know what to do there. But then, when you look at the Lord's lotus feet, my God, that is magical. It's magical. The soft feet of Radha Vallabha. I'm giving you all incentive to get Brahmin initiated soon. To be able to touch that, that is out of this world. Like that. So, one has to have that eagerness. I'm not saying I have that eagerness. But by doing that only one will get that eagerness. That is the process in which we will develop. See, we have to start worship to get the eagerness to worship Radha Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So it's a beginning, right? So that's why it's called as Brahman initiation. It's only an initiation. Abhi Sikho, how to be a Brahmana, now start learning. So senior devotees will teach how to do arti, how to do dated dressing, how to do bathing, all these things. You have a question?
Yeah, so they Prabhupada said that we worship Radha and Krishna in the temple.
Yeah.
But here we, our temples, obviously we have Radha and Krishna, but we worship them in the mood of Lakshmi Narayana.
No.
So when you said...
No, we don't worship in the mood of Lakshmi Narayana. We don't worship Radha and Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayana. Our worship is accepted by Radha and Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayana. If we worship the mood of Lakshmi Narayana, then that's not Rupa, we are not Rupa Goswami, Rupa Nugas. Right? Nothing wrong in worshipping Lakshmi Narayana. Lakshmi Narayana worship is glorious, no doubt about it. But having come, that is not our Sampradayic mood. That is not our Sampradayic mood.
Can you just repeat the sentence? We worship Radha and Krishna in the...
Our devotional service is accepted by the Lakshmi Narayana feature of the Lord. Because Radha and Krishna cannot be worshipped by Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. We cannot worship Radha Krishna in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. There is no room for the knowledge of the Godhood of God in Radha and Krishna worship. Godhood of God kahan hai? Radha and Krishna worship. For them Vishnu is God, Narayana. When God comes, they are praying to him, please protect Krishna. It's almost like that. Pardon? With awe and reverence. That is not our mood, right? But the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, only Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti will purify our hearts, making us, giving us the adhikar to then approach Radha and Krishna. So right now, whatever worship that we are doing, because Radha and Krishna, you don't pay obeisances to them. That's not the way to worship Radha and Krishna in the first place. Right? You don't find anywhere gopis are paying obeisances to Radha and it's not like that. But gopis are serving Radharani in different mode. It's not that gopis are feeling superior. They are all feeling inferior to Radharani only. Of course, there are certain gopis who are competing with Radharani. The left wing and right wing gopis, they always have their fights, right? So some of them, they are fighting with Radharani. Why you are with Radharani? Like that. You should have been with me. No? Chandravali group. They are at loggerheads always, right? So that is there, the Godhood of Godhead is not there at all. In fact, if you read Brahma Samhita very carefully, of course, Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaja's English is, at a very, very high level. But when you read it many, many times, it is said that in Golok Vrindavan is like a lotus, the whirl of a lotus flower. And there are spears in all the directions. If you read Brahma Samhita, you'll find there are spears. Why these spears are there? To prevent unauthorized entry. What is unauthorized entry? Awe and reverence. One can say, sex desire. No. वो तो वैकुंठ के लिए भी है. Unauthorized entry to all those people who are worshipping him in awe and reverence. इधर मत आना. Go be in Vaikuntha only. Right? Don't enter Golok Vrindavan. यहाँ का व्रज भक्ति is completely different mood. Like that.
But Prabhu, you say that Jiva is Krishna and Nitya Das, right? So we always say we are Das of Krishna.
Correct.
So it's on the Das Bhava, Dasya Bhava, right?
Correct. But Dasya is a component. Last time somebody said that point. Dasya is a component which is there in Madhuri also. Radharani is a servant of Krishna only, at the end of the day. What is her mood? She is the best servant of Krishna. Nobody can serve Krishna the way. But servant doesn't always mean chai nasta leke aane ka. Our understanding is like that. Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Does it make sense? Which means to serve the Lord doesn't mean you have to give him food all the time. Okay? To serve the Lord means to play with the Lord. For example, I'll tell you a simple thing. When you play with your children and when you feed them, when are they more happier? That is a rus. See, even at home we will know that. Right? You give them money or you give them your time. They will, Daddy, no, I want to go with you. You play with me. Like that. So that rus is there at home. It's not something we have to only understand through the scriptures. It's an everyday experience for us.
I have a question. You mentioned paying obeisances is not the worship we do for Radha and Krishna. Like that's the point you made. Now, if we are not, you said like awe and reverence is not Rupanuga worship. But how do I understand that point?
I am not saying awe and reverence is not Rupanuga worship. Awe and reverence is an instruction of Rupa Goswami. So as Rupa Goswami, we worship in awe and reverence initially. But the sadhya, the goal, the sadhana is through awe and reverence. But the goal is ultimately what? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Radhar Mahima Prema Rasa Sima Jagate Janata. That's the goal. That is the key aspect of our sampradaya, which is not there in other sampradayas. Right? Yes. Even Vitthal Rukmini will be there. Like yesterday I was lecturing somewhere. One Mataji asked me, why you are worshipping Radharani? Rukmini क्यों नहीं worship करते हो आप लोग? Of course, that was our only second program in Bhaktivedanta. She was asking that, उनको कैसे समझाएगा? Right? So, but then why not Rukmini?
Rukmini is an awe and reverence.
Because Rukmini is what? Swakiya bhav. Ours is what? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came for Parakiya bhav. उसमें भी difference है. Conjugal. Swakiya is also conjugal. Parakiya is also conjugal. But ours is what? Vipralambha bhav. That is what is the speciality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation. No? To worship in separation. So that is the highest in Bhakti. Okay. Now, there is a small paragraph, we will read this also. Eligibility in males for practicing conjugal love. Eligibility in males. Eligibility in males. Please hear attentively now. Eligibility in males. Since loving Krishna in the conjugal mood entails feminine sentiments. Please hear carefully. Since loving Krishna in the conjugal mood entails feminine sentiments on behalf of the devotee, one may have the impression that only females can properly aspire for it. Like I had. Earlier when that, of course that was anyway bogus, but still, I couldn't relate to it at all. To dispel this misconception and to establish that our transcendental relationship with Krishna has nothing to do with the material body, Srila Rupa Goswami cites the example of the sages of Dandakaryanya forest. Although they were all men, when they saw Lord Ramachandra, their conjugal love for Krishna blossomed. They took their next birth as daughters of gopis and received Lord Krishna's direct association. So even in a male body, one can develop who are Rupa Goswami at the end of the day. All Goswamis are Manjaris, if you see virtually, including Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Right? Including Bhakti Vinod Thakur. They were all males, but their eternal form is Manjaris. So now Prabhupada comes to that point that there are two moods in conjugal love. One is Parakiya and one is Swakiya bhav. Okay. So Parakiya means what? Where the relationship with Krishna is outside of marriage. And Swakiya means inside a matrimonial framework. Okay. Which is more challenging? Parakiya. Right? And this Parakiya is the highest in Bhakti, where you are not even giving regard to any social customs. I don't care, अगर मुझे समाज में बदनामी भी हो, तो I will go to Krishna. That is what one can, that's the height of which one can go to. Like that. That is why when we sing that, what is that bhajan? Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna. This comes, where does it come? जय जयोज्वल रस सर्वरस सार परकीय भावे यहाँ ब्रजते प्रचार जय राधे जय. That's where it comes. That parakiya bhav. So that is the highest. Parakiya bhave prachar. This is the mood to preach this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give this. This is the highest in bhakti. Swakiya is practiced by those who follow in the footsteps of Krishna's wedded wives in Dwaraka. One who perfects this sentiment will be elevated to Dwaraka. So if you are perfecting Swakiya Bhav, if you are perfecting Swakiya Bhav, you may be a conjugal Rasika Bhakta, no doubt about it. But you are in Swakiya Bhav, your destination is Dwaraka, not Vrindavan. Golok Dwaraka. Golok has got 3 circles. Again, if you read Brahma Samhita, Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka. The reverence component increases as you go out. And finally, full awe and reverence when you go to outside of Goloka realm. Right? So, Swakiya is practiced by those who follow in the footsteps of Krishna's wedded wives in Dwaraka. One who perfects his sentiment will be elevated to Dwaraka, where the devotee becomes a queen of the Lord. The reference from Mahakurma Purana, there is a reference given from Mahakurma Purana. There is an example which is given that the sons of the fire god, they had an aspiration like this. However, they did not follow the gopis. So if you do not follow gopis and you still have an aspiration for conjugal love, your destination will be Dwaraka. So it's not required that to be in conjugal love you have to follow the gopis. It automatically means that also. If you don't follow the gopis and do conjugal, then you will be in, then you are following the queens of Dwaraka. Like that. But for conjugal rasa, one has to follow Ragatmika gopis only. Right? Queens are also Ragatmika. But we have to follow Ragatmika gopis. Like that. So these, it's mentioned that the sons of these fire gods, they did not follow the gopis. And they had some focus on regulative principles. So ultimately, the desire for conjugal love they had. So in the next lifetime, they got Lord Krishna as their husband. Even in Sri Sampradaya, you will see Andal. Andal, what did she want? She said, Lord Ranganathan is my husband. So that is again Swakiya mood. So if you see, even in Sri Sampradaya, that conjugal mood is still there. That element of conjugal mood is still there. Otherwise, Sri Sampradaya is full of what? Awe and reverence only. But Andal did not care for awe and reverence. Why? How do we know Andal did not care for awe and reverence? Because she did not care that the garland is being offered to Mahavishnu. Anything which is offered to the Lord, the tenets of sadhana bhakti tell you what? Tava tava. This is apajaram, they will say. You know what is, I don't know, I am speaking little bit South Indian style now. Others can understand. Ghor aparad. People will say. ऐसे कैसे भगवान को जो हार बनाया गया है आपने कैसे पहन लिया? It was almost like that. And there, in those temples, the standards are very high. Right? You can't offer anybody wearing a garland, you can't put on Lord Ranganathan. But she didn't care for that. She always used to wear the garland first, look at her in the well, and see how she used to look. Andal used to, and then her father realized, "Arey, kuch to ho raha hai," because the temple priest, he saw a hair on that, and then he said, "What is this?" And then he went and asked Andal's father, what's his name? I forgot. And then he came and chastised Andal. How can you wear like this? He actually, I think he saw what is happening, and he saw her wearing this. And then he said no. And then next day onward, that stopped, and the garland went to Lord Ranganathan. Lord Ranganathan was furious with the pujari. He said, "How dare you offer me something which Andal has not worn these days? I want that garland only. And I want to marry her. I will go, Bharat Leke, I will go to her father's house to propose, to ask for her hand in marriage." So that is the relationship. Now this is awe and reverence, kuch nahi hai, right? So, but still, the mood is what? Swakiya, not Parakiya. So higher than that is Parakiya. So we have to understand that. That is a speciality of this Sampradaya. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Okay. One more. Prabhu, you had a question, no? One of you. Okay.
You're following this Sampradaya, and the Swakiya, Parakiya, Bhava, you said, and the other examples you gave. Since the kind of without even knowing a constitutional position or anybody of those knowing the constitutional position, are they themselves, because their desires or aspirations are like that, that means their destinations are kind of being set and that is their constitution, so that means they are still themselves kind of pursuing those, that is the indication that they are in some sort of a rasa.
Okay, good question. I should have answered that. I did not tell you the conclusion of Siddha Pranali. I should have told this. So, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, okay, now I haven't told you certain things on Siddha Pranali. So, Siddha Pranali system, the so-called Siddha Pranali system, how it operates is, this Babaji will directly tell you your Manjari position and he will tell you how you should worship. So, what they do, this particular Babaji that was there in contention, so this Babaji did not make people wear physically saris, but he will tell them that mentally you have to wear a sari and you have to imagine that you are in this color sari and you are wearing this bindi and then like this and then you are worshipping, It was almost like that, right? And you used to tell them which Manjari they are. So then later on, when I came out of this and then I started reading Prabhupada's books, so one of the things I used to Google always, my most Googled item was Siddha Pranali those days. So then I read a lot of articles of ISKCON, very very senior acharyas, and I read Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's commentary on Siddha Pranali. It has been clearly established by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj clearly said that your Siddha Pranali will manifest through the syllables of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When you chant attentively on the platform of Bhava, at that time you will start, the words of the Mahamantra itself will tell you what is your mood. It will automatically be known to you in due course. In some cases, then the Guru can tell you. Okay? But the Guru need not tell you. Because it is already there inside your heart. It's not that bahar se koi bolna chahiye. Right? It is already there. You will come to know eventually. That thing. So your natural aptitudes will tell you, will reveal. In due course of time it will manifest. So you will have no doubt as to what is the way to go. You will not have that doubt. Now, it's a very advanced topic, and for someone like me to sit here and talk about it, I am completely not qualified to talk about the subject matter. I am merely communicating whatever I have read. Okay, that's all I can do, because I don't have any realizations in this subject matter. It's too high. It's too high, right? It's a syllabus for Bhakti Shastri, that's why I am even daring to even talk about this.
We are still in another level.
Exactly, we are still in that platform. But we must know this. Because Prabhupada has instructed us to know. That's why Prabhupada, that's why ISKCON has said that the first 19 chapters till Prema Bhakti we have to study. So we have to study this, we have to know these things. But right now our focus should be on getting our material desires out, on chanting attentively, coming to the Nishtha platform, becoming non-envious. We will talk more about that when we come to Bhava Bhakti. Actually, I wanted to cover that.
Everybody achieved that position.
Pardon?
In the recent times after Srila Prabhupada,
Yeah.
has anyone reached that, and how do we know some?
Frankly, I have achieved that position. Why are you laughing? Okay, I was just doing a role play. Suppose I tell you I have achieved that position. How does that sound to you? No, hang on. I'm trying to communicate a point. I'm not joking about your question. Don't get me wrong. If someone says he has achieved that position, what will be people's immediate thought? He has not achieved that position. That is the point I'm trying to communicate. Anyone in ISKCON who has achieved this position will never tell you, boss, मैं तो भी रागानुगा भक्त हूँ. Then you know that he is not. And one who is will never tell.
How we can get that?
You will. How do you know someone is on that platform? By the greed for service. So I don't know whether I answered you.
One small clarification.
Okay.
Because they have followed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that relates to Parakiya Bhava. If you are following that, But if you are not in that, again going in that direction, which is I have no understanding. But if you are following that, but you may not belong here, right?
Yeah. So what if you do your Hare Krishna Mahamantra and then you realize you are Vaikuntha Rasa? That is what you are saying, no? This question has been asked. No? So I have myself had this question. I have typed it to one Acharya. This question. So the answer was given like that. That do not think that by coincidence you have come to do this sampradaya. It is not a coincidence that we are Rupanuga. That is what I was told. What more can I say in this matter? But then, if you start thinking like that, then we can get proud also. Wow, अभी 15 दिन ही है, बाद में देखा था कौन सा मंजरी है. Almost like that. So that is how the mind is. So you have to take one chappal and just beat that mind. Chant रहना थोड़ा. बहुत time है. Right? That's why we don't think like that. So right now, we are simply साधक पहला उसको ठीक कर दें life में. So right now we need not worry about that. So the fact that we are in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, that means we have been given special mercy to be in this movement. It is a special mercy and it has been given free of cost. बिल्कुल permit room बाहर से उठा के we have been brought into Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, which is a big jump. From if you think what we were before we came into Bhakti and where we are now, I think we have crossed a long bridge, right? But still, it's quite far. At least we have been saved from going down to the hellish planets. At least, we are not in a movement which aspires for the heavenly planets, thankfully. At least we are not in a movement which aspires for Brahman. Right? And our training is to worship Radha and Krishna. So by default we have crossed so many bridges. Right? But now it's only a question of we perfecting ourselves in that, which is our endeavor. That's correct. And we are going to talk about that. It's a good word you said. Endeavor. We are going to talk about that in Bhagavad. Okay, somebody else had you had a question.
I heard that Krishna is the only in Golok Vrindavan, the male form. So how the Parakya Bhav will be there? If Krishna is the only male.
No, it's not like that. There are gopis' husbands also. There are sakhas who are males.
Krishna is the only Purusha.
See, we have to understand from a philosophical point of view. Exactly. We have to understand from a philosophical. I wouldn't even call it as Leela. I'll call it as Rasa. Leela is different and Ras is different. Okay. So, for Ras, some devotees have to be friends of Krishna. He wants to have boyfriend. हम लोग क्या करेंगे उसके ऊपर, right? So, the eternal constituted position of some souls will be boyfriends only. So they have to have that mode of boy only. And that is not a false identity. That is a true ego. That is a true identity. Purusha Bhav doesn't mean not identifying with a gender. In one sense.
Purusha is enjoyer.
Purusha Bhav means, Purusha Bhav actually means I am a male, therefore I am the enjoyer. Typically that is the mood of males in this world. That male means I will dominate, I will enjoy. That is why it is getting a connotation in one sense. But strictly if you go by, so being a Purush, Sakha is a very elevated position.
I think Mataji is trying to say Krishna is the Parama Purusha.
Krishna is the Param Purusha, yes. That's very, very good. Yeah. That's a nice example. Nice way of putting it.
Actually, the real meaning of Purusha means enjoy.
Real meaning of Purusha means enjoy. Correct. It's not gender. Yeah.
So he is the only Purusha and others are the...
Correct. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sarva Bhritya. The next is Sambandhanuga. So we discussed on Kamanuga. We have taken much more time. Don't blame me if this course goes for another 1 year.
Next April.
Next April. Sambandhanuga. Sambandhanuga is what? Parenthood or friendship. Kamanuga was conjugal love. So, like conjugal love, parenthood and friendships have two categories. The first aspires for direct parenthood or friendship with Krishna. जैसा conjugal love में था, conjugal love के दो moods थे. I'm not talking about Parakiya and Swakiya. Go back. Two. One is direct conjugal love and one is assisting the people who are in conjugal love. Like the Manjaris, they assist the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But every Manjari doesn't say that, okay, directly now I have to go to Krishna in conjugal love, right? So similarly, in Sambandhanuga also, where the mood is what? Parenthood or friendship, one doesn't directly aspire to be the father of Krishna, but still that is called as Vatsalya Ras, because the sentiment is to be the father of Krishna, but one doesn't think, अभी ये नंदा महाराज बैठा अभी इसको उठा के मैं कैसा बैठा like that, you know, like we think in office now, the boss को कभी अभी कुछ करके निकालना पड़ेगा. This is our mind. So when we see with those paradigms, Prabhupada knows how कैसे भूत लोग हैं हम लोग. So Prabhupada is writing here. He says that like conjugal love, the parenthood and friendship also has got two categories. The first aspires for direct parenthood or friendship with Krishna. The second aspires for service and appreciation of Krishna's parents and friends. So what is the mood of the second person? What is the mood of a Vatsalya Rasika? That I am the servant of Nanda Maharaj. That is Vatsalya Ras. Right? Or I am a servant of Sudama. That is also Sakhya Ras. Does it make sense? Yeah? So that is what he means. Okay? Srila Rupa Goswami warns, another warning he is giving. Srila Rupa Goswami warns of the danger of aspiring for a direct relationship. There is a danger. Aspiring for a direct relationship is not wrong. Please understand. But Srila Rupa Goswami is warning of a danger of aspiring for a direct relationship, especially in relationship to parenthood. In relationship to friendship, he is not warning us. We can directly be a friend of Krishna. But specifically in relationship to parenthood. Because why he is warning like that? Because Krishna has many friends, but he has got only one. That's right. So, Srila Rupa Goswami warns of the danger of aspiring for a direct relationship, especially in relationship to parenthood. When desiring to become Krishna's father, one may inadvertently develop a desire to become Nanda Maharaj himself. Right? It's being mentioned here. This is no less a Mayavadi conception than the desire to become Krishna himself. If one becomes contaminated by such Mayavada implications, whatever advancement he has made will be obliterated. Means finished. So what a caution. We have been cautioned against Siddha Pranali and we have been cautioned about this also. And then finally, conclusion, Srila Rupa Goswami closes the discussion on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti by mentioning that some people, who are those people? The Vallabh Sampradaya, use the term Pushti Marg to indicate Raganuga Sadhana. So the Pushti Margis are Raganuga Sadhanas. Srila Prabhupada writes, this process of devotional service is sometimes called Pushti Marg. So Pushti means nourishment of desire. So that concludes our discussion on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So we will quickly open the Bhava chapter because we still have time. So that in the next class I would like to finish the 2 chapters of Bhava Bhakti. So today we will just do a little bit, for 15 minutes. And the next class we will finish both. And then the following class after that will not be there because Gurujan Prabhu, some of you requested. Right?
Next week only.
Oh sorry, next class will not be there. So next to next class we will finish Bhava. And then the...
So next week.
What is that?
Until January.
झूलन आता है ना, तो झूलन के बाद आ जाओ ना, झूला झूला के.
7:30.
Short class.
By 8 o'clock we'll start. I don't know. 8 o'clock we'll start. By which time, but all of you have to be responsible in the queue. First jaake kaat ke fir aa jaओ. 8 o'clock we'll start class directly. 7:45 we'll do kirtan. Okay? Or since kirtan is already happening, we can start the class directly. We just say some invocation prayers and start the class. So because we want to finish. So in 2 classes we want to finish Nectar of Devotion and then commence straight away go into what would you like to do first? Aapki farmaish. Somebody said Nectar of Instruction. I thought all of you will be more interested in that. Okay.
No, Nectar of Instruction is again heavy.
4 defects you want to know.
Let's come down to our level.
Okay, we'll go very fast. Isopanisad, everyone agrees now. We can go super fast, right? ये तो सब लोग हम लोग को आता है.
नहीं आता है.
Almost like that. Okay. But no, I understand. We have covered all these things. In Bhagavad Gita itself, we have covered Isopanisad. So much deep discussions we have done. So we go very fast. Nectar of Instruction, we will spend some time in some specific sections, especially towards the end. Because towards the end, we will have to derive a lot of principles that we have learnt here in Nectar of Devotion. Those will become applicable in Nectar of Instruction. There will be a lot of correlations we will do. Okay. Yeah.
This is the point where he says that in becoming Nanda Maharaj is also like Mayavad. I'm just trying to understand that. I mean, I understood the statement, but I didn't understand the meaning of it. Is it because all these devotees are like Nityas Siddhas? We as sadhana Siddhas cannot, should be. What is the meaning?
Prabhupada simply said, Mayavadi means what? They want to take the position of Krishna. So we are trying to take the position of Nanda Maharaj. So in terms of that attitude, Prabhupada is saying don't have that attitude. That's all he says.
So Prabhu, that position is not available at all.
No. Nanda Maharaj position.
The reason why I'm asking is, why is it as part of if
There's a lot of electrical work in Gola.
the reason why I'm asking is, why is it part of why is it part of 5 rasas? Vatsalya ras, why is it there?
Vatsalya ras is there. For example, Putana, what position she get? She got servant of Yashoda. That's Vatsalya ras only.
So you can aspire to be their servants or not that.
Tell me one thing, even in this material world, have you never felt affection for somebody else's son or daughter in your life? I have felt, I can tell you. I can't name them, but yes, I have felt affection as if it is my son or my daughter. So why can't we feel that for Krishna?
So not necessarily father and mother.
Without being their direct father and mother, it doesn't mean we take the position of their father and mother, right? But still we can give them love as much as their father can give. That aspiration can be there. I want to give all my love because ये मेरा बेटा जैसा ही है, ये मेरे बेटी जैसी है. Almost like that. In material world, we see those examples.
Spiritual world, every senior gopis had that. That's why even Brahma, it's mentioned that Krishna fulfilled the desires by becoming.
Correct.
So it's
See, that's a very good example. Everyone heard that?
No.
Okay, say loudly.
Not every senior gopi is not that here was saying that don't develop that mood of directly becoming Maya Vaidavana. I want to have Krishna as a son. But instead, if you develop that mood, Krishna will fulfill in the way that Brahma Vimala Leela, all the senior gopis wanted to feel that same love what Yashoda was giving to Lord Krishna. But they never wanted that position. But Krishna fulfilled that by becoming their son. Because he expanded after Brahma Vimala, he expanded to the millions and millions of Gopakumara. And then he fulfilled their desire. And he was there for one short span of Brahma, but for a long time.
So basically, a devotee should aim to have that desire to serve in that mood, but not to take the position of that.
Even then, they did not want to, because it comes in my words.
So it's not called Vasalya Kurchi or
Correct.
It's called Vasalya Ras.
It's like I want to give that position. No, I want to serve in that position.
My mood is that I see Krishna as my son. So मैं भी उनको कुछ पिलाना चाहता हूँ. I'll make his bottle, I'll make his lunch box, something like that. That is the kind of mood.
Or like assistant of Nand Maharaj.
Prabhu, I heard in lecture, Bhaktivedanta he was telling that Krishna is performing pastime in so many universes. So everybody can become a Nanda Maharaj. They have a desire, and if they have that potency, they can become Nanda Maharaj, because Krishna is performing so many pastimes in so many universes. He is taking birth as a Krishna in so many universes. So they can perform their pastime with that.
Okay.
But that also I heard, but there are two different. You discuss in also that Mata is talking about the position of the Brahma. Prabhupada is talking about the
Golodhana.
But one can achieve that position for temporary.
Here also it is saying, it is not wrong to even aspire like that, but it is not, it's incorrect to think that I will be Nanda Maharaj. Okay, so we have 7 more minutes. We just open the topic of Bhava Bhakti so that everyone knows what you can expect.
Nanda Maharaj is good. He had some reverence for Krishna.
Huh?
I mean, we have understood that Nanda Maharaj has some all reverence for Krishna. But
Nanda Maharaj had some awe and reverence for Krishna.
in the sense that he realized at times that his son was the Supreme
That is
Lord.
because of Yoga Maya. That is because of Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya makes Nanda Maharaj remember that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahamaya makes us forget that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So his problems are different. Our problems are different. Okay. So we'll just start chapter 17. Chapter 17 is called as Bhava Bhakti. सबके चेहरे में होना. 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. 5 minutes, we'll finish. Okay. Bhava Bhakti is called as what? Ecstatic love. सिर्फ 5 minutes के लिए if you can control the children, I'll be very grateful to you. 5 minutes, that's all now. इतना you have done one fantastic job till now. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Otherwise you can take them out for a walk. You won't miss anything much. I'll repeat next time. So Bhava Bhakti is called as ecstatic love. So Prabhupada opens the whole discussion by saying that the purpose of sadhana bhakti is to gradually rise to the platform of awakening this ecstatic love. So sadhana bhakti must lead to bhava bhakti. Okay? So sadhana means what? Practice. And sadhya is what? Goal. So the goal must be what? Bhava Bhakti. So sadhana bhakti must lead to the goal of Bhava Bhakti. In that sense, the execution of sadhana, if it is perfect, it should lead to bhava. The execution of sadhana bhakti, if it is perfect, should lead to bhava. Automatically it should lead to. If it is not bhava means bhava khane khane, not that bhava. Then there is some other problem we have. Okay? Bhava means ecstasy in Krishna's service, not false ego. So advancement should lead to bhava. Like that. Now, Prabhupada writes that there are, and Dhanudhar Maharaj is also commenting here, there are 2 divisions of pure bhakti. Now we are not talking about bhava bhakti, we are just talking in general. There are 2 divisions of pure bhakti. One is called Cheshta Rupa. I know it's 9:15 के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा है. So I will tell the English language. Devotional service executed with our endeavors. Just understand in a very simple way. Forget about all that Sanskrit things. If someone can take a photograph of this, I'll be very obliged to you. And then, if someone rubs it, if one of you can come a little bit early and then put this on the board, it will be very nice. Someone with a good handwriting. हो सकता है? You are out. Somebody do it. Otherwise, I'll have to do it. But even if I have to do it, then I'll need that image, so I don't have to then refer notes and then draw that whole thing. Because the whole essence of chapter 17 is captured on this board. Whatever you need to know, if you remember this picture, you will know everything of chapter 17. So, two divisions of pure bhakti. One is called as devotional service executed with our endeavors. Okay? Which is what Harsha Prabhu said a few minutes back. Devotional service executed with our endeavors, and the second category is devotional service executed with our emotions. Okay? दोनों में फर्क क्या है? You tell me. Okay. Right? Everyone heard what he said? Okay.
What did he say? What
One
did he
is-
say, Prabhu?
Nothing.
We can't.
In the footsteps of
Put the camera on these people. He said दिल से हो. दिल से है. Actually it is true. I think our class is cursed with this. Even when I am not thinking, you people are reminding me. Actually, मैं सोचा भी नहीं.
Discipline succession.
There's a song in English. We didn't start the fire. I didn't start it. Okay, one more minute is there. Okay. So devotional. So at the outset, please understand. Pure bhakti. There are two components. Okay. Devotional service executed with our endeavors, and devotional service executed with emotion. Devotional service which is executed with endeavor also is categorized into two. Endeavor which leads to bhava bhakti, and endeavor which you do after you attain bhava bhakti. Gone. Battery gone.
next class.
Next class.
Srila Prabhupada.